Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All About America's Team, brought to you by Delahanty Media. This is episode 3, and before we get started, I'm Ray Nickens,
And my name is Owen DeChico.
and you can find us at All About America's Team on Instagram and America's Team PC with a capital P and a capital C at the end of America's Team on Twitter. And it's a hard knock life for us as Cowboys fans because the Dallas Cowboys are the next team to be ruined by Hard Knocks, our everyone's favorite NFL preseason HBO Network's TV show. Owen, I don't like this. Actually,
Neither do I.
I love this, because this is exactly what I need right now to tell everyone that we're not going to do it this year because Jerry Jones, it's going to be his show. And how is Dak and Zeke and CD and Micah Parsons and Jordan Lewis and the punter going to focus on their craft when Jerry is out there talking up a storm to some random cameraman telling them about how great the team is and how they're going to win the Super Bowl every 5 minutes on this show? Your thoughts?
Well, obviously, if the Cowboys were not good last year, and I think that Hard Knocks was they were looking very much forward to this because anytime you can have the Dallas Cowboys on a TV show, you're going to make a lot of money from it. So even if hey, look, I watched Hard Knocks when the Raiders were on it, and I loved it. I think they went about it really well. It was kind of because that was when Antonio Brown had his whole when he had frostbite or whatever. It was a really good show. I didn't watch last year's, but hopefully, I do think Jerry will definitely try to take up a chunk of the show. I do hope that we have some Amari Cooper and Micah Parsons chess battles. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I think that a good half of it, the cameras are all going to be on Dak's ankle. I don't think that Dak's going to have to do too much because they're going to want to ease him in as much as possible. It'll be training camp, so we'll see. I don't really know. I think he's going to be he should be healthy based on what he's saying. But this is a really young defense. So I don't think that this is going to be good for a team because Dallas, it attracts everyone. I feel like Hard Knocks is going to make them fall themselves, and it's going to be really, really rough. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the coaches and Dak and some other leaders in the locker room kind of just do what they have to do and focus on the cameras in the back, and hopefully some of their press conferences are good. But I don't think Mike McCarthy is as much of a character as some of the other coaches are. So I think that he'll be able to do well. But it'll be interesting. I know I'll be watching. I think everyone will be watching, whether you hate the Cowboys or love them. So hopefully HBO will be getting a whole lot of money from this show. But I don't know. And thankfully we have 5 preseason games. So we have 5 weeks. So we have 5 games to watch them just stink.
5 preseason games, huh?
I think the first one's on August 1st. That's the Hall of Fame game, I think.
Oh, yeah, Hall of Fame game. Yeah, I think going back to what you said about the Raiders, I think a reason why it did so well is because John Gruden is such a great character, but he's also a really good football mind. So he was able to play to the cameras and make it entertaining while also doing his job as a head coach.
Yeah.
The difference is when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys is Mike McCarthy is, like you said, he's pretty boring, but he's also, in my opinion, not that great of a coach. The problem is it's not his fault, but Jerry runs the whole ship. He's probably going to be down there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had Jerry get in a 3-point stance and show some defensive tackles how to block.
Also, the art gallery will definitely be showed. His wife's art gallery will definitely be a
he's gonna
staple of it.
He's gonna be in his office. He's gonna, be, instead of Mike McCarthy cutting players, it's gonna be Jerry Jones cutting players.
Yeah, cutting players will be interesting because even when the sorry to cut you off, but even when the Raiders when the Raiders had theirs, it was always interesting to see who they were going to cut. Because I think that year there were a lot of I think they had a few good undrafted free agents. It was really interesting to watch. But anything else you have to say about it?
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. So yeah, Jerry's gonna probably be leading up those meetings. I mean, I guarantee some like free agent practice squad dude is gonna walk in there, and Jerry's gonna be like, really liked how you fought out there on the field yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a nice job setting the edge, but unfortunately, I'm cutting you. Goodbye.
Yeah, I don't.
You're gonna be like, wait, did Jerry Jones just cut him?
I'm looking forward to Dan Quinn. I think he'll have a lot of questions how he's going to turn this disaster of a defense into hopefully 15th, 16th overall. So I've always liked it. I don't think that he's necessarily a head coach. And even in his press conference, someone asked him, do you want to be a head coach again? And he said, like, I'm going to live in the moment, and I'm worried about taking this team to the promised land, which I liked a lot. So if any of you at home haven't listened to Dan Quinn's press conference, I would definitely take a look into that.
Yeah, I hope they ask him how, or I hope they ask him if he's implementing any of the things he implemented in Atlanta, to where they blew a 20-point lead to the Cowboys in the last 8 minutes of the game.
This is true. I think if the team like the Chargers or a team that doesn't really have the pull that the Cowboys have, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal. But people love to see the Cowboys do poorly. So I think that this will definitely – Cowboys fans are going to love it and hate it, and everyone else is going to love it.
Yeah. Like, so if you're a casual NFL football fan and you like to see the Cowboys suffer, this is the show for you. Yeah, exactly. If you are a diehard Cowboys fan who does not want to see the Cowboys suffer, this is the show for you. If you are a diehard Cowboys fan who doesn't really care, this is the show for you.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really a show for everyone. I mean, there's going to be storylines everywhere.
Exactly. Definitely Dak and his ankle will be the first one.
They have plenty of things to talk about.
Oh,
but
yeah, 100%.
If looking at it, if I were to put myself on the outside and try and have a positive outlook on the show, the storyline I would like them to follow is definitely more defense revolving. Definitely. I don't really want them to talk about Dak. I don't need to know about the quarterback. Yeah. They don't need to spend much time on that. I don't really want to, like, all the star players, they can have their time to shine and whatnot, but I would like to see a lot about, the young defense. I want to see how they're coached. I want to see how they progress. I want to see what drills they're running. Yeah. So when they get out there on the field, I can be like, oh, I saw them work on that in practice, and he's gotten better at setting the edge since week 1 against Tampa, and now he's setting the edge very well against Oakland. I mean, that's pretty long into the season, but
yeah, but it'll be a good sample size. I also think
I honestly think that this is going to be a detriment more than a positive, just because it's going to be, totally like show. Like, I bet they'll be like, all right, guys, we need you to it's gonna be like a movie. They're gonna have Jerry out there, and Jerry's gonna be like, all right, I need you to be right here, so when I say this word, you can jump up and block the field goal.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be so that's why I want the veterans. I want them to just be out of it as much as they can possibly can. Go practice throwing the football to the receivers and get more accurate. And Zeke, workout.
Yeah, I think that this team. I don't know if you saw. You probably did. The NFL Twitter page posted about Dak having the most 400-yard games, and he's 4-3 in those games. And I don't want to talk about the games or the performances, but there were a few players that on the Dallas offense that commented under that and were like kind of saying how good he was. And I think that just speaks to how much of a leader he is and how even like Semi Foco, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, the rookie wide receiver who hasn't even had a training camp yet. He posted talking about how good, and he posted a the goat emoji. So that only shows how much of an impact Dak has had on him, and he only been in his organization since late April.
Well, yeah,
So
I like that his players are defending him. If you're not being defended by your players and you're the quarterback and getting paid $40 million is a problem.
no, I'm just happy because I think that Dak, he's definitely a natural born leader, and I would definitely expect him to, before the producers come in, just to sit everyone down and be like, hey guys, like we got business to take care of. If you guys don't get too drowned in the media, just handle your business, and after practice do whatever you want. During practice we're going to have X amount of hours of just straight like domination, and then after that you can have all the fun you want. But if they do that, if for practice for Hard Knocks, if there's no nonsense or anything like that, then I think it'll be a success for the show.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's the most boring Hard Knocks they've ever had because
Exactly.
the football team doesn't want to be a part of Jerry's antics. So I hope it's the most boring show of all time. But I think Dak's a good guy and a good leader. I would like this season from him to transition kind of out of Hard Knocks. I would like to see him be more aggressive at the beginning of games.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's a very, and I don't really want to get into this pattern because it's been reiterated everywhere in all of these shows and talk shows, articles, blah blah blah. But he has a track record of having the offense. The offense has had a track record of not of stalling early on in the game, and then with a poor defense. Not even last year's defense, but the defense before that was maybe that was middle of the pack. Like you want this defense to be. We're finding ourselves down 17 points in the fourth quarter, or even 20 points in the fourth quarter, and and then all of a sudden you have those 400-yard games.
Yeah.
So I would love to see a more. He doesn't even have to be outstanding,
evenly distributed game, yards in all four quarters, not just yards in the back half.
Outstanding first quarter or second quarter. Just like score points in every quarter.
Yeah,
don't be down
exactly.
20-3 at halftime.
Well, I also think that you may disagree, but I think overall, roster wise and health wise, this might be Dak's best team. Because
I disagree with that. I think the 2016 roster is better because Zeke is healthier, the offensive line is healthier, and the receiving core is better.
I'm talking about like the Dak, like since like he's progressed after his rookie year, this is his best team. Because 2017,
so taking out his rookie year.
Yes, because his rookie year he was a rookie, and I would take I would take 2016 defense. But some of the offensive pieces, offensive line was way younger, but I would definitely take like CD, some other of these tight ends, and wide receivers. I'd take them to 2016. But I think since 2016, this is probably the best overall team, and Dak's going into year 5. So I think that this will.
Well, you have to take into account also if you're gonna mix and match. That Dak Prescott was not he's still not. He's a lot better passer, but his first year he wasn't that great of a passer. And
I'm just saying overall team.
So those receivers that you're like transitioning out, if Romo was the quarterback, they would have been featured more because he's a more pass first quarterback. in the sense that that team was built to, all right, we're going to run the ball with Zeke Elliott and our really good offensive line and have Dak throw 15 times a game.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just saying, like, overall.
Now that's not saying that I'd rather have CD over Cole Beasley, but don't hate on Terrence Williams because Dak couldn't get him the football.
Bills Mafia is treating Cole Beasley like he's the second coming. Everyone's like hyping him up.
He's a good slot receiver.
I know that, but even when he was on Dallas, no one really talked about how good he was until he went to Buffalo and he was
because they had Des Bryant.
I know that. I'm just saying because he became their number 2, I think. But yeah, Hard Knocks comes out in a few weeks. We will definitely have, I think it comes out every week, so we'll definitely have a breakdown of it every week. And we'll say like what we did like, what we didn't like. And yeah, as long as I don't see Jerry Jones's face for an hour, I will be very happy with the show.
Well, that's going to be impossible because Jerry's going to be everywhere. He's going to be on the field. He's going to be in his office. They'll probably film some stuff from his yacht.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
He'll be sitting out on his yacht just doing Lord knows what.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to talk about, so what else do you got for me?
Yeah, so besides Hard Knocks, well, for this episode, before we knew Hard Knocks was going to be released, we were going to talk about our biggest moments of pain as Cowboys fans. So I think we should dive into that a little bit. I think you and I are going to have most of our topics are going to be the same, but I think every now and then we may differ on a few. But why don't you go first?
Yeah, well, as our viewers know, we live in a society where the Cowboys being a good football team is a very, very distant memory. So that there are quite a lot of moments that I could go to that I could bring up and be like, yeah, we really sucked here. But I'm going to let Owen go first because I didn't write these down. So while he's talking, I'm going to come up with 3. Okay. So go ahead.
For me, one of them was definitely the 2016 playoff loss to Green Bay. I watched that game with my dad. I remember I was excited for the game. Obviously, this is obviously a very young team, so having that week off did not help them at all. And they started off really, really slow. And Dak, a rookie quarterback, Zeke, a rookie running back, it took them a while to get into things and like with the playoff jitters and all that. And the defense did really, really well. I vividly remember Zeke spin moving out of Clay Matthews' hands, and that was when Clay Matthews was known as one of the better linebackers, if not one of the best linebackers in the league. So, and then they just Mason Crosby, just great kicker, just destroyed my heart. Another painful moment was having to watch Odell Beckham catch a ball with 3 fingers. I was at that game, and that was, thankfully they won, but that was pretty painful having to be there when it was Odell Beckham's rookie year.
Oh, that was when the team was well balanced,
was halfway decent. Yeah, when Brandon Carr like tugged on his jersey. And my last one before we go into yours, pretty which may be surprising to you, was 2016 Tony Romo going down.
Oh, shocking.
I thought that Tony Romo got a lot of flack, and people talked badly about him because it comes along with the job of being the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. But I think that we could probably both agree 2016 was going to be one of the best teams he's had, especially with Zeke. And in 2016, he was a much better quarterback than Dak because Dak was a rookie, obviously. So I think that year, if he can get injured, he would have been hunting for blood after the past few years of almost getting to the promised land, but not. figuring it out. And I think I think it was great to see at the end for the last week of the season when they played Philly and he went like bang bang bang. When Tony Romo threw a fade route to Terrence Williams and they scored. That was definitely, I was like, I wish he was here. Another one could be when Terrence Williams when he just like fell off a cliff with his car and everything like that. With both of us going to Baylor and him coming from Baylor, both of us were attached to him just by blood. So I was very upset
hold on. What happened to him?
Do you remember when he was doing well, and like in the off season or something like that, I think he had a DUI or something like that, and like his car, it was something with the car, like leaving, it was an abandoned car.
Mm-hmm.
He left and like he drove back to the car and he was arrested, and then after that, like the Cowboys were just like, yeah, we're done with you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, yeah, when he drove off a cliff. I was like,
oh no, I was saying when his career fell off a cliff.
I was like, where, when, how, why?
So those were definitely some of my saddest moments. What about you?
Yeah. I'm going to go. It's not even the saddest moments. It's just like the pain-wrenching moments that you're just like, God, give me a break. Because as a Cowboys fan, it's just like, it's like where you go up to, your fellow Cowboys fan. You're just like, if you're suffering as much as I am, please tell me. Like, it's sad and quite hard to be a Cowboys fan sometimes. And one of those moments that really makes that evident is 2010, a game in 2010 versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, if our viewers will probably know what game I'm talking about, but if they don't, which is totally understandable because it was 11 years ago. But back in that year, Romo broke his collarbone the first time against the Giants, where he got blindside rocked. It was late back. It was a late hit that in this day and age would have been flagged for a unnecessary roughing the passer. But back then you're supposed to. Everyone was tougher, and the hits were more dangerous. And if you and I encourage a lot of our listeners to pull up to Google Cowboys Vikings 2009 divisional playoff game and look at some of the shots that Romo was taking in that game from Jared Allen.
Question for you before you.
Yes.
Was that the hit where he got up and was like, it's broken, or was that like later in his career? Because I vividly remember him getting hit and getting up and being like, it's broken.
So
was that the year that he broke it twice?
So he got rocked, and he was laying down on his back, and the training staff came out and they're like, hey, what's wrong? And he asked, hey, did he catch the pass? They're like, yeah, first down. And later on, he got up and tried to go back in, and they didn't let him go back in.
Right, so it's a different one.
Yeah, okay. Different one. But anyway, so he's out, and John Kitna is our starting quarterback.
Yeah, I remember him. What a guy.
And he did a pretty good job. They finished 6-10. They weren't that bad. He did his job. He was a decent quarterback. But anyway, they're playing Arizona, and it's a pretty high scoring game. They're playing Arizona. Pretty high scoring game. And they had just come off beating Peyton Manning in the Colts, which was a huge upset. Peyton threw 4 interceptions. And they beat him by a field goal, I think. Or maybe it was 4 points. But anyway, they're playing Arizona. And Kitna drives them down the field. They're down by 1 point. And they don't get a first down. So Jason, our fellow man, Jason Garrett, a rookie head coach, because they had fired Wade Phillips at this point.
Oh,
Who, by the way, was the head coach for the Cowboys when the Cowboys were last aired on Hard Knocks in 2008, coming off the 2007 playoff loss to the New York Giants, who, by the way, Eli, let's all give a round of applause to Eli Manning. Thank you, Eli Manning, for saving us from Tom Brady being a double-digit Super Bowl winner. Owen, clap your hands. This is our weekly thank you, Eli Manning. But anyway, so we get down there. Jason's like, all right, we're not going to go for it on fourth down. We're going to kick a field goal with David Buehler, who was I believe a 5th round pick for the Dallas Cowboys back when he was drafted. And he goes out there. I didn't like David Buehler at the time. My dad didn't like David Buehler. Nobody in the Cowboys fan base liked David Buehler because he could miss, he could make it. He had a huge leg, so he could bomb kick.
So kind of like Maher.
But he was wild. He was really wild. So he
definitely like Brett Maher.
Definitely like Brett Maher. But I'm like, okay, give him a chance. He made his last game-winning kick. He kicks it right. He like kicks it. It's like look straight there. I'm like, oh, that's in. I turn around, like start walking the opposite direction, and I turn back around, and the refs are like waving no good. I'm like, what? Like that was in, right? And they show the replay, and it just misses on the left side. I'm like, God damn it. Like, just like so pissed. And of course, the next week we were playing Drew Brees. This is not a painful moment, but we're playing Drew Brees, and we lost that game because Kitna hits Roy Williams, who was back in the day a member of the Dallas Cowboys. The receiver that fumbled a bunch. He hits Roy Williams, and Roy Williams is running for the end zone, and he fumbles the ball, and the Saints recover the ball and take a knee and win the game. So just as dumb plays where you're like, I hate my football team. But anyway, the next moment, I've talked about this moment a few times with Owen, but I'm going to go back to the 2008 divisional playoff game versus the New York Giants, also known as the Cabo game. So a little backstory. Before Odell Beckham Jr. went to Cabo, wherever he went with the other wide receivers for the Giants, second year quarterback Tony Romo with his buddy Jason Witten went out to Cabo with Jessica Simpson at the time, who was Romo's girlfriend. And I'm guessing Jason Witten's wife. They went out to Cabo to spend the week, and everyone was hating on them. Gosh, why are you going out to Cabo on your week off? You should be studying film. But hey, it's their week off. Give them a break. They're taking some time off. But anyway, they come back, and it's a pretty decent game. Tony's playing pretty well, not playing poorly, not playing really well, but playing well. They're ahead, and all of a sudden, the Giants defensive line gets hot, and they're, breaking through the line like it's glass. Romo's running for his life, can't really do anything. And the announcers are just like, Joe Buck's, is out there like, this is why you don't go to Cabo, because you're going to be missing these throws. And if you're not blind, you're like, well, Jason Tuck and Pierre Paul are like right in his face every play, and he's running to his right or to his left, trying to throw right to a receiver who's 20 yards down the field, and you're getting hit, you're getting pass rush. And anyway, that Eli's starting to get in his groove because he's Eli. He's hitting. Gosh, I don't think Victor Cruz was on that team, but he was hitting like Hakeem Nicks. I think he hit him for like an 80, like a huge touchdown. Can't stop Brandon Jacobs because we're a weak defensive line. We have a weak team. Can't do anything. And it gets to this is like late fourth quarter. Dallas is up by 3. And it's like 3rd and 8. And Romo once again gets blitzed by Justin Tuck and Pierre Paul, and he has to escape. And he throws across his body to wide open Patrick Creighton. If Patrick Creighton catches the football, the Dallas Cowboys are in the NFC Championship game, and who knows, maybe we have a little bit of happiness that year because our team was pretty decent. But no, he drops the football and they have to punt. So that was painful. It's like, okay, like, gosh, Patrick Creighton, you suck. But it gets worse because the drive at the end of the game where they're driving to now take the lead, and it's 3rd down. Romo once again pressured, has to sidestep, throws the ball to the end zone, and it looks overthrown. But on the replay, Troy Aikman even said this. He's like, looks like Patrick Creighton just stopped running. And sure enough, on the replay, he just pulls up and stops running. And it just pans to Romo, and he's like doing this, like, what the hell is wrong with you? And next play, 4th down and 5th. Actually, they got a false start penalty on Mark Colombo. So nice job, Mark Colombo. You've been getting your ass kicked all game, and you get a false start penalty. So now it's 4th and 15, and Romo throws an interception in the back of the end zone. And of course, that is the play that's remembered by everyone. Oh, Romo threw an interception in the back of the end zone, like the choker he is, and the Cowboys lost in the divisional round because he went to Cabo. But nobody talks about Patrick Creighton.
Of course not, because it's much better to just talk about.
I'm going to talk about
Romo.
Patrick Creighton today.
Of course.
Because Patrick Creighton, while he was a very good receiver, I'll give him that. He made a lot of great plays. He dropped two easy touchdowns. And for your second-year quarterback, who already had gotten so much hate for fumbling that snap in Seattle the year before, when he shouldn't even have been out there after he had drove them down the field. He shouldn't even have been out there because the starting quarterback should not be holding the kicks. You got to make that catch for your quarterback. So that was just one of those really painful moments. And to this day, I'm just haunted by Patrick Creighton dropping the ball, and it should never have happened.
Well, I'd like to ask you one thing. We were talking about all this negative stuff. Do you have what is your happiest moment as a Cowboys fan? Because I don't know this answer, so I would love for you to share this and give our viewers some hope for the season.
Let's see, happiest moment as a Cowboys fan.
I can give mine, so you can have some.
Does it have? Is it recent?
Time. It can be in your lifetime, or obviously not like the 1990s championship wins.
That doesn't count.
But like while you were alive, I can go first, so you can. I'll give you time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Definitely the playoff win against Seattle. That was, I think, ever since, in my life, from when I can like vividly remember Cowboys football, that playoff win against them was, and then just to lose the next week against the Rams, but playing Seattle, and that was a really good game for Dak. He was running. I remember what's his name? Gallup had a nice catch in the back right of the end zone. And I think the funniest part of that game was that after they scored late, everyone on the Cowboys sideline was like, "Yeah, we won." And then after that, they were up by more than one score, but Russell Wilson just floats one over to Tyler Lockett, and they score. And I was like, if we lose this, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, see, Tyler Lockett, I sent you a DM on Instagram about Tyler Lockett. I don't know if you saw it. You can pull it up right now. But the stat is he has never dropped a red zone target in his life as an NFL player.
I wouldn't blame. I would believe that, yeah. But that is definitely my my proudest moment of being a Cowboys fan.
Yeah,
either that or saying that in 2016 Dallas was going to draft Prescott. So either one.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if
win.
drafting Prescott would be my second favorite or my favorite Cowboys.
I mean like me predicting they were going to draft him.
Okay, that's fair. But anyway, I have two that I'm thinking of right now. The first one, I'm going to go with 2013 versus Washington, Week 16. The herniated disc game. So, it would, it's one of those. It's, by the way, this season ended up with the 8-8 loss to the Philadelphia.
As they usually do.
It ended with an 8-8 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. But at the time, the Cowboys were 7-7. Going into week 16, I think the week before they had blown a 18-point lead. So now we we're down by 20 points. But back then, we'd be up by 20 points. And Matt Flynn was the quarterback for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers had a broken collarbone. And the Cowboys were up, a lot of points, and they blew the lead, and it was Romo's fault. And, not running the ball, just another one of those disasters. But anyway, the next week rolls around, and we're playing Washington.
I remember that game against Matt Flynn where he embarrassed us.
Yeah, and Matt Flynn had the greatest day of his life, and it was much to our misery. That's another episode of pain. I'm hoping that I will be able to move on and never, will never remember that game ever again. And
because that game was in Lambeau, right? It was a cold game in Lambeau, I think. But that's not important.
I think it was actually in Dallas, but it doesn't matter. It's whatever. We don't need to talk about that. This is the positive part of the show.
Yes. Very positive part.
But anyway,
I think we should end every show on a positive note.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I love being positive. But anyway, where the Cowboys, weren't really playing, did not have a great game. It's another one of those divisional games where it's tight no matter who you're playing. And I mean, Dallas was not really, their defense wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So they were down once again, and just, not good. And, Romo does another one of his spins to get away from a sack, and looked like he pulled his, I don't even know what he pulled his quad or something, because he was limping and barely completed the pass to the fullback. I can't remember his name anymore, but he barely completes the pass to the fullback, and they get the first down, and he's limping off the field because they had call a timeout or something. I'm like, God, what did he really just pull his quad? Nobody even touched him. And turns out it was something worse. But anyway, he goes back in there, and very few plays later, he hits Terrence Williams on a bomb. And I don't know what Williams was doing. He's instead of running dead straight and scoring, he decided go left and then right and then zigzag, and he got tackled. And they end up driving down the field, get down to around the 1 yard line. It's 3rd and goal from the 1. They hand it off to Murray. Murray turns around, tries to go backwards, loses 15 yards. So at that point, I'm like, good Lord. Last week we lost because we wouldn't run the ball, and this week we're going to lose because we did run the ball. Can my life get any worse? I'm just thinking, what the hell is wrong with this team? Get me away from this franchise. Very next play, they're 4th down. Season's over if they don't get it. Romo gets the snap. He runs forward and hits Murray, who was the player who ruined so unlike Patrick Creighton, who blew the game the first time, he actually redeemed himself and won the game the second time because he scored a touchdown. And that was very nice, because I'm like, wow, we won the game. Our quarterback came up big after a horrendous game. He got to do it, in primetime TV pretty much, because it was getting later on in the night, and everyone got to see him deliver. And then sure enough, the very next day, Tony Romo had a herniated disc, will miss week 17. Kyle Orton will start. I'm like, there we go. We lost.
Oh yeah, Kyle Orton. Didn't in 2015, didn't Kitna come out of retirement or something like that to come play as quarterback? Or was that someone else?
Kitna came out of retirement to back up Kyle Orton in case Kyle Orton got hurt.
In 15 or earlier?
And
I thought Kitna came back, but maybe not.
I think he came back that year, and then he came back again the fall 20 and the 2 seasons after, where Romo had the collarbone problem, and they were kind of going. They went with Whedon, and then they went with Castle, and then Kellen Moore. I think they brought Kitna in as like a safety
probably.
net. But I definitely remember calling him up for that game against Philly.
So do I.
But yeah, the second one, I'm going to go with a game that was earlier on before that game against Washington. It was the year before when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was another one of those games. I think it was late November.
For our viewers, what year is this?
2012, season before 2013. We're playing Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is the reigning Super Bowl champions at this point, or maybe it was 2 seasons, no, they were the reigning losing Super Bowl champions at that point because Packers had won that year. And no, Dallas once again is down by 14-ish points going into the fourth quarter. And Miles Austin gets hot and scores 2 touchdowns late fourth. And Romo has his late fourth quarter come from behind game wins in this game. They score, tie the game, goes to overtime. And the Cowboys defense, who has been abysmal for the last 2.5 years at that point. First, I think it might have been the first or second play of overtime. Brandon Carr jumps Ben Roethlisberger's curl route and takes all the way down to the 1-yard line. And then Dan Bailey, who thank God had replaced David Buehler at that point, just walks out there and just kicks it right down the middle. And I'm just sitting there like, oh boy, yeah, thank God.
Yeah, I miss having a reliable kicker. Because Dan Bailey, and then I think Dan Bailey's scariest moment, a few years ago, playing the Texans or something like that, and he kicked it, and then he didn't make it, and in overtime, he kicked it again and made it. I was like, thank the Lord, Dan Bailey redeemed himself.
Yeah, Dan Bailey's a nice kicker.
And then for some odd reason, because he got hurt. And then we had to have Jeff Heath kick. That was a sight to see.
I think he made his kicks, correct?
He did. And then he had to kick one off after he just kicked the field goal.
But but now I'm gonna think of a moment where with some new blood, I'm gonna say a moment from the most recent Cowboys, just because I have to be an objective fan and love all Cowboys history.
Yes, so, please.
One of the games that I really enjoyed watching was not a high scoring game. It was a game of I believe it was either 2018 or 2019. Okay, it was 2018 because it was my senior year of high school. So it was fall 2018 where we were playing the Saints.
I knew it. That was a really good game too.
And I remember one of my high school friends. He's a huge Saints fan. And I was telling he was like, oh, we're gonna destroy y'all. We're gonna beat y'all by 30 points. I'm like, I bet I'm gonna bet you right now we're gonna win the game and we're gonna hold the Saints to under 17 points, and we're gonna win the game. And he's like, oh, I'll absolutely take that bet. I'm like, all right. So if I win this bet, you have to wear a Romo jersey for the entire day on Monday, or I guess it would have been Friday because I think it was a Thursday night game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, you got to wear a Romo jersey the entire day. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. And sure enough, we're a very low scoring game. I don't even think Dak played very well that game, but our defense, the defense that Owen says is a real
missing love. Yeah, when DeMarcus Lawrence was good.
By the way, this defense had Jordan Lewis, it had Awuzie, it had Byron Jones. Yeah, but
it was Awuzie's first year.
It had Jeff was much better. It had I think Jalen Smith was on this team.
Yes, because that was him and Leighton's breakout year.
So all of these really horrendous players.
They weren't horrendous then. At that point in time, Jalen and LVE were known as.
Hold on. I'm getting there. all of
Okay,
the
so
horrendous players that we know today as the disasters that gave up 28, 29, worst, most points given up in the history of the Cowboys franchise, the disaster, embarrassing, horrendous players known as the Dallas Cowboys defense held the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees to 9 points.
yeah, I think the
Well, it was
best
10
play,
points because they won 13-10.
the best play of that game was well, I had two plays when Zeke got, because I remember it was a screenplay. Dak, I think that was one of my favorite Dak throws ever. It was a very short screen throw, but it was a guy in his face, and I forget the exact angle of it, but he threw it perfectly so that Zeke could catch it, jump and catch it, and then run. I was like, okay, we have a chance. Also, which I think was very stupid of Sean Payton to do, to go for on fourth and one or fourth. I think it was fourth and goal. And I was like, I don't think we're gonna be able to stop this team. And then DeMarcus Lawrence, who at that point in time was kind of like the social media leader of the team, like he kind of spoke. And I think that game kind of went to his head, but we can talk about that later. And he got past the right tackle and he stopped them from scoring. And I was like, holy, we could win this game.
Hey, I knew we were gonna win this game because I think the bet was, all right, the Saints win, I'll cough up $20.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys win, you're wearing a jersey tomorrow, the entire day.
Yeah,
it was a stupid bet because why would you ever bet on the Cowboys against a decent football team? With a quarterback
at that point in time, they were the best team in the league.
Was playing his worst football of his career, if you remember.
Drew Brees?
No, the Cowboys quarterback.
Oh yeah, they were because the Saints were the best team in the league. They only had like one loss, something like that. Yeah,
the Saints were the best team in the league, and the Cowboys were not playing terrible, but I think great. At that point Dak was playing his worst football of his career.
Yeah, 2018 was not the best year. Was not early on about the best year for Dak.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, so I'm just gonna take us back to one key moment that really made me happy as a fan. And it's late in the game. The Cowboys are winning at this point. So I'm like, all right, we got this. I'm winning. This is a great opportunity for me to be happy. And Cowboys have the ball. I'm like, all right, all we gotta do is chew up the clock and we'll walk out of here alive. And Dak takes a snap in the shotgun because he doesn't take the snap under center and drop back. We can talk about that next show. But he takes a snap in shotgun and he drops back and he's totally like, he's just standing there. I'm like, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball. And someone comes up behind him. I forget who it was, knocks the ball out of his hands. He fumbles and the Saints recover the football. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm going to be haunted by the fumble that Mr. Cement Shoes himself should not have coughed up.
I'm like, no longer Cement Shoes.
Huh?
He is no longer a man in cement.
We'll see. But I'm just like, God, like, why do you have to do? I'm like, this is why I can't. Like, I do. Like, I'm like, at that point, I'm like, I try to be nice to you, Dad. I try. I really try to support you, and then you just fumble the ball right there. Like I'm going to be scarred, but I'm going to be scarred for life by this play because I'm about to lose $20. But the defense walks out there and holds Drew Brees, and Drew Brees is he's not a very tall guy, so the pressure gets to him. He can't see. Throws the ball, and Morris Claiborne intercepts. No, Jordan Lewis intercepts him, and the game's over, and the Cowboys win. I'm like, thank God. The defense.
Because that game.
At that point, the defense saved Dak's ass, and it was a beautiful thing, and I loved it.
Because that game, Jordan Lewis, he shadowed Kamara the whole game. If Mike McCarthy on his table has a Jordan Lewis cut paper, if he has anything of that, all they should do is bring up the 2018 tape against the Saints and be like, hey, he shadowed one of the best running backs in the league. At least they could just keep him on for that game and then cut him. Because after this year, his contract is there's no guaranteed money.
Yeah,
But
and I want to bring up one thing. Our defensive coach at that time was Marinelli. And I know Owen was calling for this man's job, saying this guy is too watered
Tampa 2, baby. Tampa 2.
He's too watered down. He doesn't know what he's doing. His defense is too vanilla.
But his defense looked pretty good that day with all those players who are now garbage and horrendous to the right now.
I think it was also because for that whole week, everyone, whether you were a football fan, baseball fan, whatever fan, you knew that the Cowboys were going to lose that game. All over social media was, all right, the Cowboys are going to lose this game, and there goes the season. I think that if nothing else, I'd like to think that there was, as people say, bulletin board material. That throughout the week they were like, all right, we're not gonna look like idiots, and we're not gonna lie on our backs and just let them run all over us. And
let me bring up this point. You have told me that Jason Garrett is a horrible motivator, and he cannot get his players ready to play. Isn't that right? You tell me.
I've said that. Yes, but they'll never quit on him. I think that if Jason was the coach for this past year, half of those losses would not have been as bad as they were. I think that, but we can get into that at another point.
I actually agree with that point. I think I'd rather have Jason Garrett as our head coach over Mike McCarthy because
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if he was the coach.
Good head coach, and I don't.
Mike McCarthy won 6 games with that team. 6 games.
Yes.
Imagine what he's gonna do with a healthy Dak, 4 really good wide receivers, a running back who 3 years ago was known as the best running back, who's now like the 5th option on that team, 2 tight ends who are back and healthy, a healthy offensive line, and I'm gonna be critical, a decent to could be really good defensive coach. I think Mike's biggest issues were that last year we're completely running over time here, but last year there were a lot of times, you probably remember this, when they were on only 25-yard line and it was 4th and 10 and they do a fake kick. I think that I think having a training camp is going to be really good for that team if he can have a better game plan, and if he doesn't do stupid stuff. Like there were some times where it'd be like 4th and 4 and they could go for it and get it, but they decided to kick or punt, or there was time where it's like 4th and 20 and they decided to throw it. I wish he was more consistent. Ever since he left, the Packers haven't been or even won a Super Bowl.
Well, the Packers have been in the NFC Championship twice.
But they haven't won anything. So at the end of the day, the Packers and the Cowboys had the same exact season because they both lost. Doesn't matter about the record.
That's a very strong point. However, I'm sure a lot of Cowboys fans would rather make it to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row instead of going on 30 years without getting past the divisional round.
Because you know what? We have a better draft pick because of it. That's what I care about.
Yeah, well, that hasn't really helped us, has it? But anyway, back to Mike
McCarthy. It has.
But back to Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy did not do anything, and I'd love to finish. You can talk after. I'd love to hear what you have to say, but I just want to get this one point out.
You go for it.
Mike McCarthy has done nothing to show anybody that he should have been hired for the Cowboys head coach position. And without going into huge detail, I'll just bring up these 3 examples. He hired Mike Nolan, who has his last showing as a coordinator was as the Falcons defensive coordinator, where they were the worst defense in the league.
McCarthy gave him that job because he owed Mike Nolan. That's the only reason why he got that job, because he owed him.
Yes, but in football, you're here to win.
It doesn't excuse it. but he didn't pick him because he was good. He picked him because he needed a defensive coordinator, and he owed Mike Nolan because Mike Nolan helped bring Mike McCarthy into the league.
Well, that's a problem in and of himself, is he's not there to win. He's there to pay off favors. But anyway, that's the first problem.
I think it was both, but the reason why he was brought in there. Go on, my bad.
But yeah, so that's the first problem. The second problem, the man was out of football for a full year. He's out of football for a full year. So Jerry hires him as the head coach, and he could not have been the best guy available. Like,
who else would you have wanted?
Well, at that point,
tell me right now who else you would have wanted.
Ron Rivera, Washington.
He was picked already. He was selected already.
Well, that's who I would have wanted.
I wouldn't have.
Okay. But anyway, he was not the best available.
Who else besides Ron Rivera? Give me one other person that you could have had. Because you don't tell me that you wanted Lincoln Riley.
No,
don't tell me you wanted a college.
I would have rather them hired Jim Harbaugh, paid Jim Harbaugh to come back.
He's staying in Michigan.
Cowboys could have paid him a bunch of money. He would have come. I promise.
No, you're not paying a guy more than $10 million like the guy in Oakland is. You're not paying a coach more than $10 million. I know it doesn't go against the cap space, but they don't deserve more than $10 million. Jim, he's not worth that money. Michigan isn't that good of a team. Lincoln Riley was talked about. I liked the idea of Lincoln Riley, but at the end of the day, no. There was no one. You could have had Kellen Moore be your head coach. That was an option, but I know you didn't want that.
No.
You could have had anyone else, but at that point in time, unless you're gonna have like your defensive line coach become your head coach, Mike McCarthy was the best available guy. If next year one of the good head coaches gets fired for some reason and Mike McCarthy's bad, then sure, fire him and pick someone up. But Mike McCarthy at that point in time was the best of what they could get, because Jerry Jones is not going to put his team. He's always going to put his team head coach wise in a position to succeed. If he had a no name as the coach, that was not going to sell tickets. Mike McCarthy has a ring. Therefore, he will sell tickets and he will be big in press conferences. That could be a reason why, but I understand why you're upset, and so am I. But
you didn't even let me finish my point. Remember when I was like, bad. Hey, just let me talk. You've like interrupted me like 20 times in the last 3 minutes. But what I was saying about Jim Harbaugh was the San Francisco 49ers head coach back in the day, was he not?
He was.
Did Jim Harbaugh go to 2 straight NFC championships and a Super Bowl?
Because of Colin Kaepernick and that defense? Yes.
So why wouldn't you hire Jim Harbaugh with a defensive background to be your head coach when he's a fiery coach, he can get you motivated, and he's a lot better option than Jason Garrett. And he's also his time in college has not worked out.
Not at all.
So I don't understand. And he could have flopped, right? Like you said, he could have flopped. But why would you not at least try and go after Jim Harbaugh instead of picking the guy who'd been out of football for a year? Just give me 1 second. I'll let you can 1 second. But also, being out of a year of football, Mike McCarthy made a bunch of decisions that were just like mind-boggling to me. First, the fake punts, those were disastrous. And then just like the game plan, like it's specifically the game against Philly, where they had to throw out DiNucci, which I don't even know why they would have started DiNucci in the first place when you had Garrett Gilbert sitting out there. He played the very next week, and they almost won the game. But they throw out DiNucci, who's like a freaking rookie, basically. He shouldn't even been drafted in the draft, but they took him so no one else would. And they throw him out there, and instead of like running a similar offense to what they did with Dak, like the rollout, screen, play action stuff, 2016, to get him like moving because he's a mobile quarterback who kind of I don't know a lot of his what he did at James Madison, but I feel like on a lot of his highlights he was on the move a lot.
Yeah.
Like he's a decently fast quarterback. He can run, and he threw a lot on the run because he was in a lot of play action. But they go out there and they're like, all right, we're gonna run a triple option reverse pass play.
They got way too cute.
And I'm like, why are you running a reverse triple option pass play against the Eagles, who are basically the same amount of trash as you are? Like, I'm like, why would you even do that? That makes zero sense. Because we ended up beating Philly with Dalton later on, correct?
Yes, because Trayvon Diggs had like 2 interceptions. It wasn't because Dalton beat Hurts.
Yeah, because I'm like, why can't you just run the ball and throw short passes instead of running a quadruple option? It's just some of his game plans, and they'd cut to McCarthy, and he'd just be standing there with his giant face mask and just his giant clip like play sheet, just standing there doing nothing. Like he wasn't talking to his players. I'm sure he was, but whenever I saw him on the sideline, he was just like standing. Like if I'm Mike McCarthy, my eyes are just here, and my eyes are not moving. I have my play sheet right here, so I'm like this, and I'm just staring in a straight line. And I'm like, doesn't look like he's upset at all. Doesn't look like he's like mad or fiery or that head coach, and like the team's getting blown out by 30 points. Just like, what are you even doing here? And also, Mike McCarthy was 1-3 with Dak Prescott as his quarterback. So when the Cowboys were at their best roster-wise, they were 1-3, and they should have been 1-4, like 0-4, if not for Dan Quinn, who is now our defensive coordinator.
It's a good thing. Are you done,
I'm just
or
like,
did you want me?
I'm like, why? Like Mike McCarthy. I mean, he could have a great year this year, and I'll praise him if we have a good year. But I'd like to see a change, especially after this year, if the Cowboys don't make a run, because we cannot have another 8-year Jason Garrett fiasco.
Did anyone else?
It needs to be a you're done, get out, goodbye.
Did anyone else sign Jim Harbaugh, or is he still the coach of a college team?
He's still with Michigan, but I don't know
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? If he was that good of a coach, there were a lot of teams that needed coaches. The Eagles needed a coach. Other teams needed a coach. If Jim Harbaugh was so good, why didn't they sign him?
Did the Eagles hire from within?
They might have, or they might have signed a defensive coordinator from
So
elsewhere.
if the Eagles hired from within, that would explain it, because it's probably a cheaper option to
there
hire
were other
from
teams too.
I don't know who not the Bengals, the Chargers hired.
I understand what you're saying. Also, Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys, I forget who they looked at, but I think one of the only reasons why Mike McCarthy got a job was because because Jerry liked him. I think he like stayed over his house for like the night or whatever, and they talked.
What Jerry Jones said was Mike McCarthy spent the entire year studying film around the league. Yeah. And it looked like
he watched every game
at a single snap of film the entire year from how he coached.
But also, if you're coaching a rookie, now the Ben DiNucci game, I watched that game. He looked abysmal. Every single throw was a sidearm throw. I think his best throw was like a 12-yard throw to Amari Cooper, and even Amari Cooper looked like no one looked they wanted to be there. DiNucci, now he could be the new backup for the next 6 years, but you can't have a guy throwing sidearm. And yes, I agree, Gilbert should have been out there because we definitely would have won that game. But you had 4 different quarterbacks that year. And yes, the first few games when Dak was there, if your defense was a little bit better, and you had, because also you didn't have a training camp and there was no preseason. You gotta understand or remember that too. So the beginning of the season kind of like take with a grain of salt. But yeah, to have 4 different quarterbacks and to still win 6 games,
But I'd love to take it with a grain of salt, but I can't. Oh God, microphone. I can't take it with a grain of salt because you have quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, who comes out there after Tyrod Taylor pain injection punctured his lung. Yeah, Justin Herbert goes out there and has a huge game, and they against Kansas City, and he has a huge year. Joe Burrow, with no preseason, no work, training camp, no workouts, has a pretty decent year pretty decent year. Their head coach, I would rather have Mike McCarthy than the Bengals head coach. The Bengals head coach is pretty garbage.
But also, when the Bengals played the Cowboys, it looked abysmal.
Yes, because Joe Burrow wasn't playing.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because if Joe Burrow only played week 1, if there were 4 quarterbacks that played for the Bengals, I think they'd be in a very similar position to the Cowboys. The Cowboys last year, I think the injury bug hit them the most since it's hit them with Romo. And that, because even week 1, when who was it? When the tight end, I forget his name, when Jarwin went down, I was like, oh no, because he was supposed to be one of the better athletic tight ends in the league.
I mean, at that point, he's the 5th option, though.
I understand that, but Dak throughout his career has always looked at tight ends in trouble.
Well, as he should, because the tight end is supposed to be that.
Exactly, and because no one thought that Schultz was going to be what Schultz was, because before that year, he only had 3 catches because he was out of Stanford, and he was a predominant run blocking tight end. He never caught. I think he had he might have dropped a few passes, but last year he turned into, for what it's worth, a really good tight end. So I think with both of them, but yes, I am also looking forward to seeing. Wow, this episode took a turn. But I am looking forward to what Mike McCarthy can do. I'm gonna try to forget about last year.
Did he shave his beard?
Mike, I have no clue. We'll find out on Hard Knocks.
I'm Googling it right
now. If he has a bad year this year, then yeah, say goodbye. But he's gonna have a training camp. He had a mini camp. He's gonna have 5 preseason games. So yeah, if he's bad after this, then go find the next guy. But
yeah, I think no. I'm sorry, he didn't have a beard and now he does have a beard. Never mind.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, I honestly, this season can go a million different ways. And
my favorite part of training camp was when the Dallas Cowboys Instagram page posted a video of CD's
against the Vikings.
Catch. No, his him mossing Anthony Brown or something.
Oh yeah, in training camp.
And they were just in GOAT status catch, and I'm like, wait, who did he catch that on? I'm like, oh, he caught it on Anthony Brown.
Yeah, the NFL posted who's gonna be the best second year out of 8 different guys, and Judy was on there, Ruggs was on there. Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb were nowhere to be found. So that already tells you that they were the 2 best wide receivers.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, exactly. And I would agree. I think CeeDee Lamb is definitely the 2nd best receiver in that draft. Absolutely.
I think that if Dak was there for all 16 games, regardless of record, CeeDee would have had more stats than Justin. But we're going to find out this year.
Because they're going to play each other again.
Yes. Anything you want to say before we wrap up this supposedly short episode? But here we are.
This is a very short episode. We're 30 minutes under.
That's true. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up and get ready for looking forward to this Saturday's episode?
If, knock on wood, if Dak Prescott were to go down, I would pray that Mike McCarthy has a better solution than what he put forth last year.
Me too.
Training camp and an OTA and knowing his football team better.
I hope they bring in
because
a veteran
if it's
quarterback.
a similar situation, it would tell me that he's not ready because the Cowboys roster, even last year, was good enough to still win the division by a long shot.
100%.
So even with Garrett Gilbert, if we can play, if our defense is better, which it should be, because they have a lot better guys on the team.
Mhm.
Like,
Also, Richard Sherman's a free agent, so maybe they can go get him because they need to bring in some type of veteran cornerback. But hopefully, we'll be seeing an alert in the next few weeks about, because I'm assuming that he'll want to sign before training camp. So hopefully, we'll see in a few weeks because him and Dan Quinn again would be. Ooh, I would like that thoroughly.
yeah, the Cowboys, if Dak, like I said, my goal for him, if he turns his motto into a hero ball or relax
Saving
first,
again, yeah.
hero ball later, and changes it to a I'm going to kill you the entire game, the Cowboys are a ceiling of 14-ish wins because their team is that good. So if we put it in that frame of mind, if I were to put that in my frame of mind, if he were to go down, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. But if he were to go down, I'd still have their ceiling at nine wins based on their talent on their roster.
Yeah, I mean, that's surprising coming out of your mouth. 14 wins.
Well, yeah, he's a 5,000-yard court in this day and age. The league is built to be a pass-friendly league. And with 4 receivers on your roster, including the tight ends, that are with 3 receivers on your roster, that are 2 are definitely number 1. 1 is a 1 or even a 2 on some teams.
All 3 of our wide receivers would be number 1s on any other team.
Yeah, he should have a 5,000-yard year. They should be able to score a lot of points.
Also,
their defense should be able to stop nosebleeds and have good games and shut down offenses that are not as good. So yeah, I can definitely see them winning 14 games if they're coached well.
Yeah, I want to say one thing, and then we can put a pin in this episode, and we can look forward to next week's. I know there was a lot of drama going around Ezekiel Elliott and
there was
his season last year, but if all of you viewers at home and if you, Ray, if you have 10 minutes, I would look up 2021 offseason Ezekiel Elliott. I know that it's offseason, but Zeke has not looked this in the least weird way possible. He has not looked this athletic, this strong, this jacked, and this best. But everyone on his team is saying he's in the best shape of his life. Whether that translates or not, that I'm looking forward to it, because I'd much rather this than him being Cabo until the day before training camp and looking like he just came back from the July 4th hot dog contest. So
what was the drama last year again?
Well, it wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago because he wanted to pay.
Good.
Oh, well, last year was because of the offensive line and because, like you said, the offense wasn't run well. Because sometimes he would run really well in the first quarter and they wouldn't run him the ball again the rest of the game. Excuse me. Or you'd go up against one of the best defensive lines in the league against our makeshift offensive line. Like, we had so many offensive line changes that Zeke would just run the ball and it'd be -5 yards every single game. But yeah, thank you for everyone listening to. We had multiple different topics this episode. Thank you for everyone that tuned and heard all of our parts of the show. But Ray, you wanna close us out?
Yeah. Thanks for watching. This has been a pretty. I think this episode has been a good episode. We had some talk. Had some news. We had some debates, some pushback back and forth. So it had a bunch of flavor in a lot of different places. So and everyone got to hear about my positive moment of the new Dak-led Cowboys, not just Romo content. I gave all of y'all, a happy Dak moment. So that was, another, I guess you could say, a groundbreaking part of this podcast. But yeah, next week. So when is Hard Knocks air?
Late July. But before we get into that, if any of you listeners have any questions for us or any comments at our show, make sure to at us on Twitter or Instagram. And our Instagram is All About America's Team, and our Twitter is America's Team, capital P, capital C. And we would be more than happy to answer your questions or just talk to you guys about this week's episode and episodes in the future. If you want us to talk about specific things in any episodes, we'd be more than welcome for some suggestions.
Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure that this episode is currently live streaming on YouTube.
Yes.
So you can also drop a comment down on YouTube, as like a certain question, like, hey, why do you think this? Or how do you think Dak will do this year? How do you think the Cowboys match up versus this team? Or even, I like these questions. These are some interesting questions that would bring, good topics for later shows, especially in the off season. Like, how do you think the Cowboys receivers would match up with the secondary of the 90s Cowboys? Like, how do you think Amari would match up versus Dion? Or how do you think Emmett who's the better runner, Emmitt Smith or Zeke Elliott? Or who do you think's the better receiver, CeeDee Lamb or Alvin Harper? Or how do you think Dak's development matches with Romo or Aikman or whatever? Like all those great topics that we can bring to our show in a kind of a boring part of the off season. Because I would much rather talk about that than some random headline of some fourth string player getting stopped at a traffic light asleep in his car.
Yeah, knock on wood, we're not in the news for anything bad this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we leave the bad news to the Houston Texans and all the other teams.
Yeah, no news is
breaking
good news. No
yeah,
news
exactly.
is good news. I would much rather talk about Michael Irvin. I'd much rather like to talk about Michael Irvin comparing to CD than
to some player getting
arrested. Jalen Smith smoking weed out on the top of a parking lot. Because no news is good news.
Jalen Smith can find his way to the top of a building because he couldn't find anything. But we've gone on off topic. But
if you need to know what we're talking about, just Google Odell Beckham Jr. reverse versus Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, please do.
Pain. Yeah, haunted by the reverse that never have been given up.
Thankfully, we have Randy Gregory and we have Micah Parsons, who will never, ever let that happen.
Oh, boy, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for joining. My name is Owen DeChico.
And I'm Ray Nickens, and this has been our wonderful show called All About America's Team, where we once again talk about everything from Jerry Jones to the punter.
And we look forward to talking to you guys on Saturday.
All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.